to the Better Together podcast. Today we're on location in Pinar del Río, Cuba, and I have here with me the president of the Cuban seminary. Boris, why don't you introduce yourself and try to encourage our folks that are listening and watching to pray for you. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you, Eddie, for the opportunity to be here and chatting this podcast. Normally, I follow this podcast in the Facebook, and it's sometimes I tell, wow, it's a nice idea, this podcast, and the name Better Together is wonderful. But I never imagined I'd be a part of this podcast, and that is a real honor for me. Thank you.
Wow.
Yes, God gave me the opportunity to be the director of the seminary in Cuba. It's a real honor for me, and but it's a big challenge for me.
Yes.
I am a young man, and this seminary has a lot of history of many men of God who working with passion and working hard for extending the kingdom of the heaven here in Cuba. And the seminary, our seminary, was one of the first weapon in the hand of God for fight the good battle in the gospel here in Cuba, and be a part of this history time in Cuba of the seminary is a real honor. But we know we have many challenge for coming, and we wait many trouble for coming, and my main need for pray is for wisdom.
Yes.
I need wisdom, and I need in the second time is pray for the country of Cuba, because the situation in our country, political, economical, is a problem for the seminary too. Many times the seminary need working according to the needs of the country. And if the country don't have food or don't have gas for the cars, we need stop, and we need working slow. We need looking for the high prices in the food and the lodges and many other stuff of the seminary. And please, if you can pray for the seminary on all the economical needs of the seminary and the spiritual needs too. We're facing some problem in the past, but now we see the hand of God, and we see how God working in the middle of His people here in Cuba, and He healing our seminary, and He healing our life, in the entire life here in the seminary.
Good. So we can definitely do that, and we encourage folks that are listening to follow along. They can kind of watch often in the news or read about what's happening in Cuba and think about our church here, and to pray for them, and to pray for the seminary where you're educating pastors who will go out, not just in Cuba, but often end up in other places serving as well. You have a long history with this place where we're sitting at right now. We're sitting in front of Tom Willie's home, aren't we? But it looks a bit different than it did when you were coming along. Tell us a bit about your experience growing up and your experience with this seminary.
I grew up in Havana. I am a city boy, and I attended to a Free Baptist church when I was 6 years old in Havana. I remember was in one of the principal churches in Havana, San Francisco Church, and I remember my first time here in the seminary was in 1994 for a kids camp. I remember in that time we using this house like a dorm for kids. And I see the structure, and somebody tell us the story of the seminary, but the story of Pop Willie. Because I remember in that time, teachers, they tell us his stories about the missionaries. And normally they speak of missionaries in French, missionaries in Japan. At that time, they tell us the history about the Pop William family, the story of the missionaries in Cuba, Free Baptist Mission in Cuba. And they give us a tour for this house, and was impressive because at that time was almost destroyed, a pretty old house and a bad condition. But the ambience inspired me a lot of respect, because thinking about a man who come from the United States without money, without any warranty about the maintain or help And he come and say, okay, I go to Cuba and go to planting churches there and help the people in Cuba. And it was a great time for me when I was a kid. And now, when I look in the past, many years ago, I am the director of the seminary here. And that is a miracle, how a kid from a simple church, from a really poor family, non-Christian in that time, God can use for be a new director of the Cedars of Lebanon Seminary here.
It's wonderful, and you were educated here, and you've also had some other opportunities to go overseas and receive some education as well.
Yes.
So you worked with Tyndall House, and they sent you over to England. Tell us a bit about that experience. It had to be quite different.
That was a big miracle. You know, I finished my bachelor program here at Cedars of Lebanon Seminary. In 2015, I remember I received in my home the visit of the president of the Southern Baptist Seminary in Cuba. It's in the Western Baptist Seminary is in Havana. And he attended to my house for a work visit, and he told me something about a Hebrew program in England for Cubans. And he told me, do you want to be a part of this program? I said, yes, I want to. He told me, okay, you need to take a test. In this test is a special test for made a selection of the people. And tell me, you need looking for one Hebrew book specifically. I remember was a Thomas Lamden Hebrew Introduction to the Biblical Hebrew book, and I can't find that book in that time. And when I find it, finally was a lot late. You know, they studying a big group of people studying Hebrew for 2 months. I just studied for 1 week in my father-in-law's house, and I tell my father-in-law, okay, I need time for study. And the entire week I studied just the first 9 lessons. And they require 18 lessons for take the text. But I take the text, I remember, and finish my text, and 4 days after that, somebody called me from England. And I see the number in my phone, and I say, England? Who is in England? And I take the phone call and tell me, congratulations, you has been accepted like a student of our Hebrew program on Tyndall House. And I said, wow, that is a big miracle, because who thinking a poor Cuban studying a 60,000 pounds price course in England? It was really expensive, but God provided all the stuff for travel. And I remember when I was in England, I asked him to my professor. I said, okay, Stephen is the name. I know I don't made a good test. And he tell me, we know, but we know you only study for 1 week. And we say, if this guy in 1 week doing this text, probably he can do it better if he has more time studying Hebrew. And that was the miracle. And I attended there for 6 months. It was a semester intensive Hebrew program at Tyndall House. Tyndall House is a center for biblical research in Cambridge, UK, working affiliated to the St. Edmund College, one of the colleges of the Cambridge University. And I think the president of Tyndall House, he was in Welsh College a couple of years ago, Pete Williams. I see a conference with him there. It was a miracle. I don't have words to define how grateful I am with God for this big opportunity for me.
But that was already preparing you for this, I suspect, those kind of opportunities, and so that you can take that, pass that on to the generations of students who will come through here. So we so appreciate you, Boris, and we will pray for you. We ask you to pray for us too, especially those in the United States, and you need to pray for your father-in-law too. So he's the president of the Cuban Free Will Baptist, isn't he? And so travels around, works very hard. So let's encourage our folks to pray for Ramon as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today.
No, it's an honor for me, really. Thank you for be patient with my English.
Oh, your English is great.
I'm trying to do my best.
It is great, and thank you for inviting us into Pop Willie's home and letting us have this time with you today.
No, thank you guys for coming and for blessing us here in Cuba. Wonderful.
God bless you, Eddie. God bless you, Boris.